Good morning, boys and girls. Today at our reading circle, we're going to be reading a very special book, and it is called Apple Farmer Annie, and it is by Monica Wellington. She is the author and the illustrator, so that means she writes the words in the picture book, and she also draws the pictures. And let's look at the title here real quick. It says Apple Farmer Annie. What do you think we're going to be learning about in this book? That's right, apples. We've got many apples here on the front page, and we have a young girl here. It looks like she's picking apples. Could that be Annie? Maybe. So before we read, we're going to take a look through our pictures really quick and make some predictions about what might be in the text. So we're going to look through here at a couple of pages and see what we find. Okay, on our first page here we have many apples and some apple trees. Oh, there's Annie, and it looks like, what is she doing? Right, she's picking apples. Looks like on this page there's many different baskets. What could she be doing with all those baskets and apples? That's right, she might be sorting them, or she might be checking for good and bad apples. That's a very great answer. Here it looks like there's some apple cider. I wonder what she's gonna do. There's many things in her kitchen here. We see all kinds of ingredients on her counter. What might she be doing? That's right, she might make something with the apples. Oh, and here we have a truck. It looks like she's putting the apples in the truck. Boys and girls, what do you think she's gonna do with the apples? Where is she gonna take them? That's right, she might take them and sell them somewhere. So before we look at the rest of the pictures, we're going to stop there with our predictions. And we're gonna see if we're right. We're gonna go ahead and read the book now. So today we're going to focus on something very important while reading. We're going to focus on a period. We've been talking about many different punctuation marks. We've talked about question marks, and we've talked about exclamation marks. Today we're going to talk about a period, which is just one single dot at the end of the sentence. Can anyone tell me what a period might be? That's right, a period ends a sentence. We put a period at the very end of a sentence to show that we're completing our statement. So we're going to be looking for periods while we read. Does the title have a period? It doesn't. But we're going to look for periods throughout the book, okay? So let's remember the title is called Apple Farmer Annie. And our author and illustrator is Monica Wellington. Okay, we're going to go ahead and read now. See if we can set this right here. And I will go ahead and point to the words in the text for you, okay? Annie is an apple farmer. She has a big orchard of apple trees. So we were right, she has many apples. Does anybody see the period that we were looking for? Right, it is right there and right there. In the fall, she picks baskets and baskets of round, ripe apples. And what's that there again? Right, that's the period. The author is telling us that Annie picks many baskets in the fall. Now, boys and girls, what about this word right here? It says ripe apples. Do you know what that may mean if she's going to be picking the apples? Right, when we're talking about fruits like apples and when to pick them, we want to make sure that they're ripe. And that just means that these fruits are ready, that they're full. For apples, they would be red and round and shiny. She grows many kinds of apples. She sorts and organizes them. And on these pages here, we see different kinds of apples. We have some red, some yellow, and some green. She has all these baskets, and she's putting them into different baskets based on what? That's right, their color. She's organizing them by color. Annie uses some of the apples to make sweet apple cider. Does anybody know what apple cider is? Let's look at the picture here. Looks like she's putting the apples into this here machine and rotating it and turning it around and around. And what's here at the bottom? Right, that's a juice. So apple cider is probably another form of apple juice, right? She uses others to make delicious, smooth apple sauce. How many of you boys and girls have had applesauce? I have. Applesauce is very different from apples, but does it still taste like apples? It sure does. It still tastes like apples, but it just has a different texture and it's way more liquidy. It's very different from apples, but it's still made out of apples. So we see Annie here, and she's mixing all her ingredients to make these little applesauce jars. She loves baking muffins, cakes, and pies with her apples. So on this page here, we have many different ingredients. We have sugar, flour, looks like we have butter, maybe some eggs here, and she's putting all these ingredients together with what else? That's right, the apples, to make different things with the apples. We have her apple pie there, and we're going to find out what else she's going to make. Oh, she's made everything, but she saves the most beautiful ones of all to sell fresh at the market. Now, boys and girls, what do you think they mean when they say that Annie saves the most beautiful apples? Have any of you ever been in the grocery store with your families and you're helping them pick out some fruit, maybe some oranges or apples or pears? What do you usually do? You kind of take it and you look to make sure it's good, right? You want to make sure it's shiny and that there's no marks on it and no holes on it. So Annie is looking through her apples and she's going to save those beautiful shiny apples with no marks to sell just as themselves. And we see Annie here, she's loading up her truck with the apples. She loads everything into her truck and drives to the city. And what's that mark here that we saw? That's right, a period. Boys and girls, why do you think Annie has to drive all the way to the city? That's right, she lives on an apple farm. She lives very far in the country. It might be hard for her customers to drive all the way out to see her, so she goes into the city, into the market, so they can get to her easier. And there's Annie's apples. It's her truck. Annie the apple farmer sets up her stand in the farmer's market. And we see all these items here. We see the apple cider, apple sauce, all the different apples and muffins. And her stand says, Annie's Apples. Lots of customers come to Annie's stand. There's that period. She is busy all day long. All the customers buying her apples and her baked goods. By the end of the day, she has sold everything. It's that period. She packs up to go home. And look here, she has a sign that says 5 o'clock, closing time. And what do we notice here about her baskets? That's right, they're all empty. She's packing up to go home. Annie is tired but happy. What's that again, boys and girls? Right, a period. It feels so good to have her own apple farm. Period. Now we see Annie, she's actually eating what? An apple. And she's probably sitting there thinking about her day. And here at the end of the book are some of Annie's recipes and instructions for creating her applesauce, her muffins, and her cake. Now here on the very last page we see boys and girls eating all the different things that Annie made. There's some eating pie, candied apples, muffins, and applesauce. That looks like it's the end of the book. So let's think about what we just read again. Our book was about who? Annie, that's right. And who is she? She's an apple farmer. And what does she do throughout the book? She picks her apples, then she sorts them, then she makes different things with her apples. Can you remind me what she makes, boys and girls? That's right, she makes apple pies, apple sauce, she saves fresh apples to sell just by themselves. And what does she do once she's done making all her ingredients? That's right, she loads up her truck with all her apples and she drives where? To the city. She sets up a stand to sell all her apples and her baked apple goods, and she sells them to her customers so that they can eat them. And boys and girls, what does she do at the end of the day when she has sold all of her apples? Right, she packs up her baskets and she goes home. Very good. Now, remember we wanted to focus on something in our book. What did we want to focus on when we were reading? Did we focus on question marks? No, there weren't any questions in this book by the author. Did we focus on the exclamation marks? No, we didn't focus on those, and I didn't see any in the book either. Did we focus on periods? Right, we sure did. As we were looking throughout the book, we saw many periods at the end of the sentences, and those are those small dots at the end of the sentences. Now, boys and girls, can you please remind me what the periods are for? Very good answer. The periods are for the end of the sentence, and they help complete a statement. All right, boys and girls, I had so much fun reading this book about Annie's apples. Now we're going to continue on with a reading activity, okay?